guys, welcome to Big South Overland, and look what I got. Chinese diesel heater. We're going to install it into the Canopy Camper, but I thought I would take a few minutes and show you some things about it that I changed from how it comes to me. It comes, basically this is an all-in-one unit. It comes already with a wiring harness, an inline fuse attached to it, so that makes it a little bit easier. The actual heater unit is across the bottom here. I'll take the case off in a bit and show you the inner parts. And then the 1 gallon diesel fuel tank is on the top here. It does have fresh air intake. It does not come pre-installed. I already installed this, as you can see. I have test fit the unit in my truck a couple of times to make sure that everything is good with that. This is the exhaust pipe. Now, you know, going through a Tacoma bed, it is not a steel bed, it's a composite bed, so I was a little concerned about the heat coming out of this pipe. So what I did is went to the auto parts store and I ended up getting some muffler and tailpipe repair tape. So I wrapped that around the top of the pipe where it comes out of the bottom of the unit, and then the fitting where it comes, where the pipe connects to the bottom of the unit, I took an additional piece of the tape and wrapped it around there, just an extra measure. Also, it helps tighten this up, because where this exhaust pipe slips onto the actual exhaust from the heater, it's pretty sloppy in there, and we could not get the strap tight enough without it hit its capacity and it wouldn't tighten up anymore, and you could literally pull the pipe off with your hand the first time we test fit it into the truck. So the tape around the outlet on the bottom of the unit and then the pipe onto that outlet seems to snug it up pretty well. We did end up deciding to drill through the bed so that it exits straight down through the bed, and ultimately they suggest that you do the fresh air intake through the bottom as well. It routes out of the back of the unit, and I decided to just keep the fresh air inside. It also comes with this is the exhaust hose, which obviously goes onto the front here like so once installed. Now this part did not come with the heater. I added this as basically as a type of flange so that I can route the air from the heater out into the cab, because I will be installing my heater in a bench that we have in the back of the truck that we built. So it's kind of self-contained back there, and then this will allow the air to get from inside the bench out into the passenger area where, you know, we kind of hang out if it's super cold. It comes with radiator hose clamps, some other clamps to hold the exhaust pipe. Like I said, it does have the built-in wire harness, which makes it a lot easier. A couple things I didn't like about it is when it comes in, it's already together, which is good, but there is no fuel filter between the fuel and the pump. The section of hose is only about 2 or 3 inches long. So what I did is I ended up going to the auto parts store and I got some fuel line and a fuel filter, and I took those apart that was on the unit and lengthened it and added that extra piece of fuel line, and then also added a fuel filter in there. So that made me feel a lot better about the fuel coming out of the unit. You know, because you're in the back of a truck and we'll have to remove the lid when it's in the back of the truck to put fuel in there, and there's a good chance that dust or dirt or something could possibly make its way into the tank, and so we just have that added measure of caution with the fuel filter. It does have the remote on the front, as you can see. A couple things about the remote. When I hooked everything up on the bench to test it, I did discover that the remote, or the control unit I guess is more accurate, it stays hot all the time. There's always power, so there's always going to be some sort of a power draw for that thing. So when I permanently install it in the truck, I'm going to end up putting it on a switch, in a switch panel that we have installed, so I can actually turn the heater itself on and off that way. But then the control panel, it's a little bit difficult to operate. You got to remember, this is a Chinese piece of equipment, and the lost in translation type thing that's a thing. It happens because it was very difficult to figure out. I actually had to go on YouTube and do some looking, and did find a couple videos that explained how to operate the control panel as far as the fan level, because it doesn't operate like you would think a normal fan that you and I would use, where you would press the up or down button to increase or decrease it. It's based off of two different options. You can either program it to operate off of how often the fuel pump runs, so the lesser amount of fuel that it puts into the heater, it runs slower. The opposite would be true. If the pump's running faster, the faster the fan will run. I think we're going to end up ultimately running it based off of hertz. So if you run it on a lower hertz, the fan's going to run lower, and higher hertz, the fan's going to run higher. When I did test it in the shop, it did put out a pretty fair amount of heat. It wasn't a particularly cold day yesterday, but it was cool, and you know, just in an open garage, it warmed up the garage pretty good, surprisingly. So we are going to get this thing installed permanently here in a little bit, and we're going to run it, and then we'll see how it goes. So the heater is installed in the bench in the back of the Tacoma. You can see here down in the corner over there to the right, that's a vent. I cut a hole in the side of the bench for a vent because you can't really see it that well in the bench, and I apologize for the light, but that is the fresh air intake. And down here we have the exhaust for the hot air coming out, which comes out through a little makeshift vent that I did. I'm not really happy with that. I just ended up using what I had on hand for the outside part of it. I didn't have what I really needed, but I wanted to get it closed up so there wasn't just a hole there. But you can see there's the control panel. It does come loose from the front, so we just kind of ran it through the handle, and it's just sitting there right now. I will put a piece of double-sided tape or Velcro on there to hold that. And as you can see up here, there is my switch, and the blue light is the switch for the heater. Did get it figured out, ran it for about 30 minutes inside the camper here, and it heated it up pretty nicely. So I am going to turn it on, and you'll see kind of the function. So what you want to do is hit this power button here and hold it for a second. It'll flash on. You can see the fan is now turning. The little red icon below the number 3 is the glow plug to show that it is on and heating. Down at the bottom you'll see alternating red and green lights. That's exhaust out on the red and fresh air in on the green. Pretty soon the fuel pump will cut on, and you'll be able to hear that. It does make a little bit of noise, but I suspect that you will get used to it at night when you're sleeping. So here's what the pump sounds like whenever it is running. So that slight thump you hear, that is the fuel pump pumping the diesel from the tank into the heater itself. You'll notice right near the bottom of the little LED with the green flashing, you'll see a green bar. There'll be another green bar that shows up, and then I believe a yellow bar, and then 2 red bars. When you get to the 2 full red bars, that means that the heater is completely up to temperature and running like it should be. So we're going to let it run here for a second and get the temperature up and adjust the fan speed so you can see how loud it is. Okay, it is running on high right now, and you can see all the bars, 2 green, 2 yellow, 2 red. As I said, the 2 red means that it is at capacity. It is running at full speed. The glow plug, you'll notice, is off, which means it's up to temperature. Over here on the left, you'll see that little green icon. That means that the pump is working and pumping fuel from the tank into the heater itself. So I'm going to turn it down. on the fan speed, and you can actually hear it cooling back down just a little bit now. So the PSI, I have it set at 1.6, which is the lowest it will go. The fan is in fact slowing down to compensate to get back to that 1.6 hertz. But I can go here and go up to 2.6, 2.9, or 3.0 hertz, and the fan will begin to speed back up here in a minute. So I'm going to switch it off now, and you just press the power button and hold it, and it goes to off. And now in a few seconds the pump will stop, the fan will kick back up just a little bit to run air through the heater, start the cooling process, and then it will shut down. And it usually takes about 2 minutes or so, and then it will be cut off. So that's the Chinese diesel heater. So far so good. Running on the bench and run 3 or 4 times within the truck. Once we had it installed, you may can hear it still running. There is that tap to the fuel pump, and then of course the blower motor running, but I suspect that when you're sleeping you'll get used to it, and waking up warm will be a big deal. It will far outweigh the little bit of noise, but I can assure you that it's putting out some air. The vent is down here by my leg, and even in the cool down process with the fan on the lowest setting, it's putting out a pretty fair amount of heat, and I feel like it's going to really warm this camper up pretty quickly, and it'd be nice when we wake up in the morning. So an update on the heater. We ended up going on a trip. It was supposed to be pretty cold a couple of nights that we were gone, so we thought that would be a good run on the heater test to see how it worked out for us. But we ended up having some electrical issues. We're having some electrical issues. I don't know what the problem is, but I'm not a happy camper this morning. My electrical system, something's wrong. I switched over from an AGM battery to a lithium, thinking that was going to just carry us through with no issues, and it's not working out. So we ended up cutting our trip short and coming back home, and I've been doing some research now for several days trying to figure out what the issue is, and I think I have come to the determination that ultimately we just did not get enough sun, and the panel cannot charge the lithium back up to top it back off to the 14.4 volts that a lithium needs to be recharged to. So it looks like we're going to be adding a DC to DC charger to our setup, and at this point I think I am convinced that I'm going to switch to a Red Arc BC DC 1225 charger, which has a built-in MPPT controller in it. So waiting on those items to show up, and we'll get those installed and see if that rectifies the problem. But you know, thanks for following along with us. Please subscribe and hit the notification bell, and any comments or questions or anything, please put those down below. We welcome those, and I'll answer them to the best of my ability. And for now, we'll see you on the next adventure.